SABC News reporter Samkele Maseko joins me now live. Samkele, very good evening to you. Thanks indeed for your time. So explain this to us. Zandile Gumede asked to step aside. This means she does not go to work, but she still gets paid, correct?
Indeed, Griselda. It means that KZN ANC has not reversed their decision for Zandile Gumede to be a member of the provincial legislature. They've just basically asked her to step aside until the finalization of her criminal issue and until she appears before the Integrity Commission of the party. These are the issues that came out of their special PEC they held this week, which was basically laying the foundation for the special NEC that's currently underway. That started at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, but it essentially means that Zandile Gumede still remained as a member of the KwaZulu-Natal provincial legislature. She still remains as an RTT member of the eThekwini regional task team, but will not be performing any of those functions. She will step aside until she appears before the Integrity Commission of the African National Congress in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
That's very important, Samkele, to clarify that with the aspect of it not being an exact reversal. She's basically been told to wait at this particular point. So with the provincial chair as well, Mabuyakhulu also asked to step aside. Is this a preemptive strike ahead of this weekend's ANC NEC meeting at which the Gumede matter was to be discussed? And I'll tell you why I say this, Samkele, because it's been on the conference resolutions of the ANC in the past that corruption accused should step aside.
It is essentially a preemptive strike by the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. It also precedes what happened and unfolded in the National Working Committee meeting of the African National Congress on Monday, which also went on to have another provincial National Working Committee meeting earlier on this afternoon, which finished at about 2:30, which laid the foundation for the ANC Special National Committee that's currently taking place now. KwaZulu-Natal essentially was moving in the tune that the president of the African National Congress would want to direct the ANC's Special National Executive Committee that anyone from any of the interest groups or what is dubbed factions within the African National Congress, if they're implicated in issues of corruption, malfeasance, fraud, or bribery, must seemingly coincide and abide by the conference resolution of the 54th National Conference of the African National Congress, which essentially means any leader who is implicated in any wrongdoing, fraud, or corruption must submit themselves to the Integrity Commission of the party, explain themselves. If the Integrity Commission is not pleased with their explanation, the onus is on that particular leader to step aside from all positions of responsibility within government and the African National Congress. But a key clause to this resolution by the African National Congress goes on to say that the ANC has the right to repeal or distance itself from any individual implicated in wrongdoing. So essentially, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal basically implemented the conference resolution of the 54th National Conference, which the former President Jacob Zuma this afternoon has just sharpened contradictions by issuing out that lambasting and scathing letter against the incumbent president of the ANC, who's his successor, Jacob Zuma, basically repeating what former President Mbeki did to him.
And we'll come to that in just a moment, Samkele. Does this not then speak to the ANC failing to implement its own conference resolutions?
Essentially, the ANC, when it looked at the implementation of some of its conference resolutions, it's been documented by many within the academic space, within the governance space, that the ANC has brilliant policies. The ANC takes beautiful resolutions, but the implementation part of these resolutions and these policies is very bad. Some even go so far as to say that it's pathetic, and the ANC doesn't have a good track record of implementing most of its own policies and resolutions. For instance, if you go at how the ANC dragged in implementing their own conference resolution, it started from SASCO, their student formation, went on to the ANC Youth League of free basic education for South Africans and free education, rather, which is also stipulated in the Freedom Charter. That was only implemented on the eve or on the doorstep of the ANC's 2017 NASREC conference, which many people has dubbed as a political gimmick to try and sway the voting pattern for that particular conference. A conference that was a resolution that was taken in 2007 was to be implemented in 2017. A decade later, that they only implemented that particular resolution. They've got resolutions such as the the formation of a state bank that has not yet come into fruition, which is an old resolution. A resolution of a state mining company, we have not yet seen that. In fact, they even as far as saying that the post bank must be turned into a fully licensed state bank in the country. So their own implementation of their own resolutions is not something that they're very good at, but they're good at taking policy resolutions and resolutions of the organization.
Samkele, I want to talk about this weekend, the ANC NEC meeting. The VBS matter on the ANC's Florence Radzilani and Danny Msiza also expected to be discussed by the NEC?
Yes, indeed. The final report of Danny Msiza and Florence Radzilani were implicated in the VBS saga will be tabled by the Secretary General of the African National Congress in this weekend's NEC. The ANC's Deputy Secretary General, Jesu Duarte, did confirm that to the South African Broadcasting Corporation earlier on this week when we spoke to her. And she went on to say that a final decision is to be taken, despite there being a decision that was taken in the last NEC meeting that these particular leaders should be brought back. The issue was that various structures and various bodies and NGOs had to be consulted in the province of Limpopo, and traditional leaders had to be consulted in bringing back of these particular leaders, as poor people of Vembe had lost their money.
Samkele, and just finally, former President Jacob Zuma, you touched on that just slightly earlier, writing a letter to his successor, President Cyril Ramaphosa, seemingly taking him to task for his letter on corruption. Tell us more.
Came out guns blazing against successful ANC leaders last weekend, appealing to them to fight the issue of corruption. For instance, I'm just going to read a paragraph from the former president. It speaks, and the former president says, "I view your letter as a diversion, a public relations exercise by which you accuse the entire ANC in order to save your own skin." End of quote. That's the former president on his successor, former current president of the ANC country, Cyril Ramaphosa, on the issue of the open letter he wrote out. The former president also goes on to speak on issues that, for instance, he says here, your letter seeks to lend credence to the suspicion that you seek to assist those in our ranks involved in attempts to destroy the ANC in order to hand over the ANC to be a tool of white monopoly capital interest. Which is for the most scathing is that the former president basically says to the President Cyril Ramaphosa, your letter pays lip service to the ANC's National Conference resolutions. In actual fact, our movement under your leadership has been avoiding implementation of these resolutions, such as land expropriation, nationalization of the Reserve Bank, basic education, and the implementation of radical economic transformation. And he goes further to say that the current president's letter, Cyril Ramaphosa, to ANC and basic understanding of the African National Congress on how ANC leaders communicate to party members. He basically says President Cyril Ramaphosa's letter to ANC members is fundamentally flawed in several aspects and lacks a basic understanding of how the organization practically works, saying the president of the ANC doesn't even understand his own organization.
All right, we'll certainly watch all of that unfold. Thank you very much, Samkele Maseko, SABC political reporter. We do apologize for a bit of a break in transmission there, but I hope you got the gist of that discussion. Let's take a short